pro-Palestine protesters, as you can see here. The officers dealing with the protesters could have used a little more New Zealand law enforcement strategy. How so? Well, in New Zealand, a pro-Hamas protester was exercising his right to openly support terrorism. And that's when a cop was openly exercising his right to rugby tackle him. Luckily, we have received reports that no damage occurred to the pavement after the Hamas supporter's skull bounced off of it. And in other news,
the greatest perpetrator of misinformation during the pandemic has been the United States government.
Don't play that. How do we get him a membership to the Clinton body count list? Oh, Hillary's already working on it? All right. And in more international news, Ireland is working on catching up to the woke standards of the rest of the degenerated westernized world. Here's the country's prime minister speaking in some kind of funny leprechaun accent.
Not at all in the civil service, which is very white, including the Department of Equality, for example, and that actually needs to change.
There's too many white people in the government, says the head of the government, who is white. And you should listen to him, because after all, he's white, and you should follow the orders of Whitey. A bit of an ethnicity autoimmune condition he has. Meanwhile, Ireland is rioting as they're burning down immigration centers in response to 5 people being stabbed by an immigrant. The Prime Minister couldn't be reached for comment, but we speculate he would have said that the stabbings were mostly peaceful due to the immigrant being Caucasianly impaired. And in white politician news in the US, the symbol for diversity in the form of an old white guy, Joe Biden, is now officially losing in the polls to President Trump.
Donald Trump, we have at 46%, Biden, 44%.
With Biden dropping in the polls, it's now more important than ever that we rely on mail-in voting ballots and no voter ID. And finally, we sincerely don't care if you had an enjoyable Thanksgiving last week. Though the Biden administration has done their best to make it less enjoyable for you with their crackdowns on democracy-destroying gas stoves. Just eat your turkey raw so the weather doesn't change. And here you can see a man who most certainly hates his life being pictured by Kamala Harris next to their gas stove. That's it for today's news. Please continue thinking about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce so you can be appropriately distracted from thinking about what really matters. Boy, Taylor Swift, that's important to think about. Our MK Ultra program is working well. Good night. Welcome. Whoa, there we are. Missed the camera. Welcome, my beautiful freedom-loving friend to Lies You Can Trust, your most trusted source of lies on the internet. Lord knows we need more of them. Here's where we like to pull back the veil of deception to expose what's really going on in the world to help spread the light of truth and freedom. If you love truth, if you love freedom, I want you to know I'm glad you're here. I am so glad that I'm angry that you're here. Man, happy Tuesday. Did you have a good Thanksgiving? I did. It's got together with some amazing people, my family, my friends. Not all friends, but some friends. So it was good. I felt grateful. By the way, today's show, we've got some juicy stuff happening, and I want to share some of that juicy stuff. I bet you thought, hey, Patriot Act, yeah, they're watching me, the government's watching me, that's cool for my protection, for the greater good of everything, the government's watching me. But there's been some stuff revealed. The government's actually watching you more than you thought, and it's pretty screwed up. Governments around the world are doing very screwed up stuff. Like that's my expertise, political analysis. Oh, they're doing screwed up stuff. They're doing it's just a reoccurring theme. They're doing very 1984 stuff. Governments trying to censor citizens under hey, it's hate speech. The Irish government is going hard in the paint right now. They're actually going after Conor McGregor because he stood up for 3 children and 2 adults that were stabbed. So they're investigating him It's absolutely insane. We've got our trusted NSA, National Security Administration. What are they doing? Well, you'd say, JP, I'd imagine they're doing national security. No. They're not. They're instituting a whole woke glossary to make sure that, well, instead of like defending from all the terrorists that we're allowing to come in through the southern border, they're making sure that all the individuals working at the NSA know what demigender is and two-spirit. Because I'd imagine you're sitting there like, dude, the world is kind of getting crazy. We got wars. I mean, there's the threat of a freaking world war. For that matter, there's a threat of a civil war. I hope the NSA is educating people on two-spirit. We're never going to survive this thing unless we're inclusive to two spirits. We need, ladies and gentlemen, we need to cater to someone's imagination for the purposes of national security. Boy, I will tell you this. If our country goes down, we absolutely deserve it. Now, I will say, I hope we don't go down. I'm optimistic. I don't think we will. Principally, we have to save our country from our own government. We have to remember this distinction. Mark Twain, one of my favorite quotes of his of all time, he said, a patriot is someone who supports his country all the time, and his government when it deserves it. Great distinction. So we also have some beautiful coordination of governments around the world doing the same screwed up things. And if we didn't know any better, we would say like, wow, they're kind of mysteriously working in lockstep with each other, implementing the same insane policies. It's not possible for these governments to independently think of these ludicrous things on their own. There might be something fishy going on. Yeah, the World Economic Forum. They have a lot of dead fish there, more like dead crickets. Yeah, fish is actually good protein, so we're not doing that. It seems like something crickety is going on. So we're going to get into that. We're going to have some fun along the way. You know, we're going to stay free or we're going to laugh trying. Sometimes I hear myself talking future possibilities, you know, it's when communism is implemented in certain countries throughout history, they like to send people to gulags. And I'm like, well, I don't want that to happen. Do everything in my power to prevent it. And I see so many brave, amazing freedom fighters, lovers of freedom. We don't just fight for freedom. We also love it. We're taking a lot of action, speaking good thoughts. We're combating lies, deception, and corruption with truth and with inspired action that's connected to good morals, good values, pro-America, pro-God, pro-freedom values. Yet, if we fail, I want to have a good time along the way. Instead of like being depressed for 5 years before they take my ass to the gulags, I want to be having fun. I want to laugh my way there instead of being depressed my way there. I also wouldn't want to know I'm going until like AOC comes along with her blacklist. She's like, yeah, get him. We're going to be getting into some stuff, but hey, I want to check in with you. How are you doing? Let me know in the chat how you're doing. Give me a one-liner. What is the state of the union according to you? And by the way, I see, wow, we have 1.4 thousand people already on the live stream. But I like to inflate numbers. Makes me look better. We have 1.4 million. Nope, there's an extra 3 zeros. We have 1.4 billion people on this live stream. That is incredible. Thank you for 1/8 of the world's population. Here's something I'm going to say hey in the chat in just a second. But first, I thought I have never thought about until this moment, and I got to share it with you. It's my new favorite conspiracy theory, and I'm pretty certain it's true. We've been lied to a lot by governments, world leaders, the elites. And I get it. Like, cool. They weren't held enough as children. They freaking lie as a result. and they try to control people as a result. By the way, my definition of evil is anyone who tries to control another person in a way that's not in their best interest. That's my definition of evil. So when people weren't held enough as children, they compensate with control. That's evil, in my opinion. So, where was I going with that? Geez, I got down a little bit of a winding rabbit hole. Now I don't remember where I was going. It'll come back to me unless it doesn't. Dude, that is so weird. Oh, the conspiracy theory I just made up. So we've been lied to a bunch of, like, they people who weren't held enough as children, they just control. That's how they compensate instead of dealing with their own inner self. So given the precedence that they'll lie to us about anything, did we land on the moon? Cool. I bet we did. Oh, Patriot Act, though. Well, that sounds really important. Well, the climate crisis, how scared do you want me to be? I'm happy to do it. Just tell me how scared to be. Cool. What if they're lying to us about the world's population? If they're lying to us about the climate, Lord knows they are. Just a matter of, like, how much. What if they're, what if the world's population is like 103,000 people? I've actually been in a football stadium with more than that. So, okay, that kind of already disproves my theory. Let's say the world's population is 900,000 people. But they've got this whole propaganda, like, no, it's like 8 billion people, and like, we need to kill some of you for, the environment. That's what we're doing. We got to kill some of you because this earth with infinite sunshine and amazing soil, until we ruin it. Bill Gates, Monsanto inspired farming practices. But until we do that, we can feed you. We have a powerful planet we're living on with powerful sunshine. Well, they're just telling us, yeah, there's like 8 billion of you, and that's part of call it the overpopulation propaganda. What if they're doing that? I am convinced they're doing that. I feel like 3% sure that they're doing that. I need to make a video about this, put it out on Twitter. Won't get censored there. But just watch. If they start to censor speech around population, they're lying to us about it. For that matter, here's a life lesson for you. When you want to know the truth about anything, whatever, climate, all the vaccines, you name it. If you want to know the truth about something, just look to see what they're censoring. And content they're censoring is most likely true. I put truth in quotation marks because I wanted to. Yeah. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. What's up in the chat? I see Glorious Patriot QT on. Alice down the rabbit hole on Rumble did a piece on Taylor Swift. It is titled Taylor Swift Controversies. Really delves into Taylor and her satanic symbolism. Right on. So Alice on Rumble did that. Awesome. I did read, the Daily Wire did a write-up on Taylor Swift and like how she's potentially doing witchcraft, satanic stuff. Because like she'll have, I've literally never heard a Taylor Swift song, by the way. If she was standing next to me, I wouldn't know it. I would just be like, why is this stranger who's got mediocre looks, in my opinion, standing in my house while I'm doing a Rumble live stream? What is going on here? So I wouldn't know her. But like during some of her songs, which I've never heard again, just I feel it's really important that I tell you that. She'll have like a line about like lightning in the sky, and then bam, like it lightnings in the sky. So, and then like a song where she says something about rain or the downfall, then it starts raining right then. I think it's ridiculous to think like she's controlling the weather through witchcraft. But then again, our friend Billy Boy Gates, he controls the weather, and we could say, or he wants to anyway, his plan. And we could say his plans are sort of based in science, but yeah, maybe it's witchcraft. Science used for the purposes of witchcraft. Okay, I just talked myself into believing that. I definitely believe Taylor Swift is using witchcraft to control the weather, give her fans a better show. Yeah, they're lying to us about the population of the world. And Taylor Swift is doing weather control witchcraft. What if they're lying to us about Taylor Swift? What if she doesn't exist? What if she was actually Hillary Clinton? Yeah, you think about that. And right about now, you're saying, JP, already listening to you, this has been time well invested. You're informing me that Taylor Swift is probably actually Hillary Clinton. I have learned a lot. You're telling me that they're lying to us about the world's population. Thank you. You are literally making me dumber as I sit here staring at you. Back to the chat. Just want to say, hey, Lukester777, thank you for being on. Hi, all. Hope you're doing well and enjoy the show. Right on. Well, I'm enjoying it. Neptune Priest, thank you for being on. JP, I would like to talk to you about your future. Well, everyone's future, really. Bob at marinia.org. Right on. Well, there's no time like the present to talk about the future. I see Lunar Fifth, thank you for being on. Oso Duro, thank you for being on. Keith's Brains, thank you for being on. The Shadow Band, thank you for being on. I know you've been on a hell of a lot. Hey JP, neat star projector. Well, first, thank you for the $10 tip. That is very generous of you. I will use that for good, not evil. And thank you. I love the star projector. It's actually a sponsor of today's show. Galaxy Lamps, ladies and gentlemen, galaxylamps.co. I'll get to that ad in a few minutes, but right on. Glad you're liking it. I love the thing. I see Bob's your uncle. Thank you for being on once again. Douglas Wildchild, right on. Is that your birth name? Wild is your middle name? I'd imagine. Ghost Child, love you, JP. You rock. Dude, I get amped up for these. Like, I'm talking at a volume and a pace that isn't natural to me. Like, if we were just sitting here, say I'm having coffee with Taylor Swift, which is actually Hillary Clinton, I'd be talking in a little bit more of a normal tone. But I just get amped up for these shows. So I sound like like a newscaster on a lot of amphetamines. So I sound like Hunter Biden if he was doing the news, Yeah. Hey, by the way, I do want to give a quick shout out and shameless plug to my Freedom merch line. This year's, it's one of the top sellers. It might be the top, but which I'll say something about that in a second, but it just inspires me. One of this year's top selling shirt designs is Got God. I moved my mic away. And that inspires me because that informs me, like, God is on people's minds. People are concerned about God, the connection with God, having more God in the world, getting more faith in the world. They're more into God than what we might be led to believe if we're watching the communist news or hearing Biden's communist Thanksgiving address, where they call it Thanksgiving proclamation. Dude, I'm going to call this a proclamation. Are you doing a live stream, JP? No, I'm doing a proclamation. So anyway, Biden's Thanksgiving Day proclamation was the first time in U.S. history that a president did not mention God in his Thanksgiving proclamation. Godless Biden. Not hard to imagine that. We need more God in the world, but God is on people's minds. So just the metrics of the top selling shirts and designs in my merch shop, that has informed me, like, yeah, We Got God. Also have the Christmas versions available now. I'm wearing one. You can grab them at awakenwithjp.com. And you get a free set of steak knives. No, you don't. And if you promise to tell a friend, we'll give you like spray paint. You can just spray on your head and it'll look like hair, even though hair doesn't look like spray paint on a scalp. I remember being a kid. You know, when I grew up, we had TV. You're saying, JP, you are an old fart. You have so much freaking gray in your beard. You grew up with cassette tapes. You grew up before they had cell phones. You grew up before Al Gore pretended to invent the internet. You are an old fart, JP. Yeah, I get it. But when I grew up, we didn't have cable. We just had the basic, I don't know what we got, 5 channels. Might have been Fox, CBS, NBC. Was that it? Fox, CBS, NBC, and then like there were 2 PBS channels. Was that the only 5? I think so. Is there another Fox, CBS, NBC, ABC? So there was at least 4 of those main channels. Anyway, so like on a Saturday, if I'm wanting to watch TV, a lot of times there wouldn't be anything on except like infomercials. So I'm like, dude, I'm down for the cause. I want to watch TV right now. And unlike today where like you go find what you want to watch through internet streaming, you had to take what was in front of you. Or you could have just like not watched TV. You could have gone outside and played and like been a healthy child. But I wanted to be a degenerate child. So when I wanted to watch TV, if an infomercial was the only thing on, that's what I watched. And if you're as old as I am, you'll remember Ron Popeil. I guess he's called an inventor. It's definitely not like a Nikola Tesla or a Thomas Edison level inventor, but he sold like, I think, pretty sharp knives amongst other things. But one of his products was spray paint for your head. Just fill in the bald spots, which, you know, my hair is thinning. I need some. And anyway, that was just the moral of the story. Before I get too much sympathy in the chat for my hair thinning, which has been thinning for about 1.5 years now. Dude, I have dreams where in these dreams, it's reoccurring, where I'll either be bald or like my hair's falling out or my hair gets cut. I wake up freaked out. But luckily now it's happening in real life. My hair is thinning. I want you to take a good look at me and realize this time next year, I might be just a bald bastard. Yeah. But I am very committed to keeping the sides and back as long as possible, even if I go bald up top. You know, just start driving an ice cream van, hanging out outside of schools, voting Democrat, you know. It's got to embrace my lot in life, as the British might say. But I want you to know I'm using some peptides, it's a rub-on cream. I'm also using like a topical finasteride with, is it minoxidil or something, spray, which finasteride can be a little bit negative ingesting it in pill form, but spraying it on apparently minimizes like your, you know, you getting your testicles turning into ovaries kind of thing. I work with Ways to Well. If you watch Joe Rogan's podcast, you'll hear him probably every other podcast. He's talking about Ways to Well. They also do my testosterone optimization therapy, which prescribe me testosterone. I got no shame. I ain't no liver king. I ain't going to do it and lie to you about it. JP, why are you so jacked? It's testosterone. But also working out. JP, why is your hair falling out? Well, probably the testosterone, but also I don't know, just life, stress. JP, is everything okay? Yeah, everything's great. I'm not stressed about anything. Why is your hair falling out and why are you literally shaking like you're vibrating? Dude, I'm not, nothing, everything's fine. All right, we're going to get into the show in a second. This opening monologue has just been potentially painful to listen to, but we're having a good time. Also, speaking of good times, I'm super stoked. I'll be, first time I'll be there for shows or otherwise. I'll be in Virginia Beach, Virginia, this Friday and Saturday for comedy shows. Super stoked doing the shows at the Funny Bone Club. Love the Funny Bone Clubs, always just world-class humans, staff, managers, always world-class people in the audience. So stoked to be in Virginia Beach this weekend. If you want to come out and see me, hit up my website for tickets, awakingwithjp.com. Oh, shameless plug number 2. How do you like that? Before we get into the show, I'm at my ADD, which I don't have. At least I've never been diagnosed with ADD. Or at least I've never paid attention long enough to hear someone diagnose me. See a comment in the chat. Ice Wendigo, Tulsi. I haven't read this, just so you know. If it gets like hate speech slurs, I will call the authorities and stop reading it. Ice Wendigo, Tulsi, RFK Jr., Bannon, Shapiro, Rubin, Bongino, Pete Santilli, Peterson, Sowell, and Rebel News all revealed themselves to be controlled opposition or Zionist globalist shills pushing war propaganda. Yes! Yes, I love controlled opposition. I do love me some good controlled opposition. Yeah, I don't think all of them are controlled opposition, but to each their own. Hell yeah. Douglas Wildchild, thank you for the balding advice. He says, try a hat. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, let's actually cover some freaking content here. But before we do that, I do want to let you know a little life update on my end. Day before Thanksgiving, I threw my back out. Yeah, getting old. Yeah, it's not good. Picking up a 50-pound water jug, which is weird. I throw my back out doing that. But like the week before, I'm doing 300-pound deadlifts for 8 reps. Like you think that would throw my back out. But I think that the deadlifts are, just whatever. I was probably being more mindful of my form. But anyway, threw my back out. On that Wednesday, I thought, well, I felt a tweak. It's not that bad. Then the next morning, I'm like, oh, well, it is bad. So I've been using my Bond Charge PEMF mat with infrared light and infrared heating, which I love. That's helped. Also today, I broke down and went to the chiropractor. And I would say after that, I'm feeling better. Still have little ways to go, so got to modify my workouts a little bit, which is always fun. Creative process kind of thing. So the title of today's show, if I remember, and I might not, is Men Need Women's Rights Too. Now, you can see this story here from Redux, and I know a portion of it was inserted in the cold open satirical segment, but let's just think about this for a second. Multiple female athletes dropped out of a women's martial arts tournament, it was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, last week after being matched up to fight trans-identified males. In one of the women's divisions, the only participants left competing were men. I'm sure those men were proud of themselves for winning against no one. Now, I think it's already been published. I did a big reaction video to this. You can find that on Rumble, find that on YouTube. Really dove into the topic, and this is a win. And I want to tell you why it's a win. So the women dropped out of the jiu-jitsu competition because they were going to be forced to fight men that pretend they're women. That's a win unto itself. We've probably all been saying, I know I've been saying it, you've probably been saying it, if not thinking it, all along this time of, I guess Leah Thomas was the first pioneer to put on a women's bathing suit, tuck it in, put on a women's bathing suit. All this time we've been saying, if women would just boycott these competitions, it would create a change. Why aren't they boycotting the competitions? But these women boycotted the jiu-jitsu tournament. And the good news is the jiu-jitsu governing body, they changed their policy. They wrote it, and I'm paraphrasing here, that women need to compete in the women's division, and men or trans identified women, AKA men, have to compete in the men's division. That's beautiful. These women took action. They were brave. They did the right thing. They said, I'm competing in the women's division and I'm going to have to compete against a man. No, I'm not doing it. And that created the change. The governing body, like, we don't have women left in this competition, in this division. We're going to change our rules. I think that needs to happen more, obviously. And I think probably, to say the obvious, why the jiu-jitsu competition was, and I'm sure it wasn't the first, but, amongst the earliest to have women boycott, is this is a combat sport, where to protect themselves from physical harm, they realize, this is already a violent sport. But when I have to compete against a man, the physical risk to me is just too great. Unlike, say, swimming or cycling, where, or running, where, cool, a man's competing, you're probably going to get beat, but you're not going to be physically harmed. There has been physical harm. I know there was a field hockey incident where a man competing as a woman knocked another girl's teeth out with a field hockey ball. I've seen a volleyball video of a boy on the girls' volleyball team in high school. Just freaking is a really good spike right into a girl's face, knocked her out. So there's always potential for physical harm in a lot of sports, but this is like a combat sport. So hats off to these women. Jaden and Ansley, they're doing the right thing. And I'm not going to show it here because we want to move along, but on Jaden's Instagram, so Jaden and Ansley, they're two of the women that dropped out of this jiu-jitsu competition, therefore got the rules changed. Thank you. They're like the Rosa Parks of gender. On Jaden's Instagram, I was looking through it and found some videos of her competing against this man that she was going to compete against. So she had actually competed against this man in a previous tournament, wasn't told he's a man until like the moment she was taking the mat. So she, didn't even really think about it. She's like, okay, I guess I got to fight him. And she said it was a very gnarly experience, but here's the cool thing. She won. She beat the man. But she was saying, like, obviously his strength was far greater. I felt very unsafe, more unsafe than she normally would in a jiu-jitsu tournament. But she won. So anyway, c'est la vie. I don't even know what that means. C'est la vie. Hey, next up, two things next up. We're going to get to what the National Security Administration is doing for national defense, which is nothing other than Marxism, wasting people's time, degenerating, just their stupid woke glossary of terms they created. But before that, we're going to get to comments from the haters. Yes, comments from my videos from the haters. I embrace them. Thank you for leaving the comment. Boost the video in the algorithm, and I sincerely don't care what you think. By the way, Cal, would you be able to turn off the YouTube live stream in just a second? First, if you are watching this on YouTube, we're going to turn that off, and I'd love to have you continue joining us. So what you'll want to do, because we're going to end the little first part of this streaming to YouTube. So go right over to rumble.com, go to my Rumble channel, Awaken with JP, and keep watching with us, because we're going to get into things we're not allowed to talk about on traditional big tech. So head on over to Rumble right now. And while you're there, please